Now let's have a look at our XXE example. In this case, we're going against a sitemap tool where the application is actually giving us an example file. This is very common. A lot of times the applications that you're using, they're going to give a demo file so you can understand what the format is and how to import your own data. So let's go ahead and save this file. I'm going to click Save Link, and we're going to save it on our local machine. We're going to open up Notepad. Again, you can use whatever text editor you like. I'm using Notepad for this case. I'm going to open it up and look at it. So in this case, this application is expecting us to send a set of URLs, give it a location, that's the website location, and give it a priority. And whenever it gets uploaded, it's going to parse this data and show it back to the user. So let's give it a try. We're going to go right here and we're going to set go. Once we hit go, google.com test and test2 are what came back, which looks like this is where these are the information that's getting presented to the user. And we want to make sure that this is where we also query for our file that we're going after. So if we're going after XML password, we want to make sure that it's being shown in the location and not in priority, since priority is not being visible within this results. So let's go ahead and go back to our example really quickly. We're going to just copy our payload and compare the two. So using the example from our presentation, we can see that we already have the signature. We don't need this. This is usually by default a part of the XML file. But however, we don't have our element or the entity that we need to call system to fetch the file XML password and assign it to our entity XXE. So we're going to just copy this. You can do this either in multi-lines or you can make it one single line. I like to keep it all in one line. I'm just going to bump it right there, leave it there. Again, we're calling XML password. We're assigning it to XXE, but down here somewhere, we want to make sure we call for XXE and get the content that was assigned to it. So since we know the application is going to show a list of URLs like this one, test and test2, we're going to replace one of these values and have it represent the data that was assigned to our entity. And once we have this, we're going to save it. You can either overwrite your current file. I highly suggest writing this into a second file so you don't have to keep downloading the original template in case something goes wrong. So we're going to go back here. We're going to upload our file. We're going to push go. So our example here failed. This is because I forgot to remove the payload that we had at the bottom. What you want to make sure is in case it doesn't work, you don't have any errors, all the syntax are right. There are no extra doc types, elements at the bottom of this. You want to make sure it fits the template you have. So I'm going to remove it again. Now we have it. We have XXE being called for. Right here, XXE has the value of the file. It's all assigned to XXE, the entity that we just created. And we're just going to go ahead and upload this again. So we're going to save this just to make sure it's saved. We're going to upload, and right here, as we can see, instead of showing us the google.com test URL that we had, it's showing us the content that was assigned to XXE. And at the top and above that, at the top and bottom of this request, we can see the other two URLs that we had. So again, this is very straightforward. Sometimes you may have to do this through Burp Suite to see the actual results. Again, it all depends on how the application is working. So let's run this really quickly through Burp Suite just to give an example as well. We're going to download our sample file. We're going to call this sample XML2. We're going to open it up in our Notepad just to make sure it's the original version. There's no XXE here. We're going to feed it to this uploader, and we're going to intercept this with Burp Suite. We can see the content of the file. We're going to go to action, send to repeater. As we send this out, it comes back. Same thing. We push go. It comes back and tells us, hey, this is the URL you had, google.com test2. Again, I'm showing this in case this was an API where the API is going to come back and give you some text and not the entire HTML. In that case, you can just replace this with your payload again, send it out, and the application is going to come back and give you the vulnerability that you're looking for.